Good evening, professionals. In our Friday Corporate Law webinar series, we've been discussing about the global corporate laws, trying to understand the various provisions, statutory implications to it. To begin with, we started with Singapore Companies Act, where we discussed the practical aspects of companies formation in Singapore, how to register a foreign company in Singapore, more to do with Part 11 of Singapore Companies Act 1967, together with various amendments made till date. Then we discussed about how to establish a place of business in Singapore. We have been discussing during the last few weeks about the various governing provisions, how directors are governed under the provisions of Singapore Companies Act. Then we discussed about how auditors are governed under Singapore Companies Act. Today, in continuation of the same governance issue, we are going to discuss about the maintenance of registers under Singapore Companies Act, encompassing all the registers as prescribed in Singapore Companies Act, together with the regulations made in relation thereto. Please stop me if you have any questions, friends. This is simple provision to understand, but strictly to be complied with because of the ramifications involved. There are various penal consequences if there is a non-compliance, which we will discuss in for each register to be maintained. If you compare it with Indian corporate laws, majority of these registers will be in sync with what we have to comply with in Indian Companies Act, like your register of members, register of directors, register of KMPs we have in Indian corporate law, whereas in Singapore Companies Act, they maintain register of CEOs and company secretaries separately. And then they have the register of directors, shareholding, similar to what we have in Indian corporate laws. But additionally, we also have register of controllers, register of substantial shareholders, who are the registrable controllers we will be discussing at the end of this particular presentation, and register of nominee directors. Let's get into the presentation, friends. A sincere thanks to Mr. Sundar for this presentation. These are the legends used in today's presentation. We all know the registrar is a national regulator there, the governing body, which is coming under the aegis of Ministry of Finance, which is ACRA, Accounting Corporate and Regulatory Authority, shortly referred as ACRA. We will discuss and understand the overview, the maintenance of registers, types of registers to be maintained by the company, which are those registers to be maintained by the registrar, and specific register, what are the particulars to be contained in it, more with reference to the Act, read with regulations. Is it mandatory for all companies to maintain registers? It is mandatory for companies to maintain specified registers. So which are the companies which are required to maintain those registers, and where it is electronic register, what is the requirement of registrar to maintain the register as applicable to private companies? That's why we say for specified categories of companies, registrar maintains the register of members of the company as prescribed under the Act. Proper maintenance of these registers is a legal requirement. The law provides for detailed information with regard to each register. Whose obligation to maintain the register? If you want the answer, it is, of course, the company secretary and the directors. And if it is going to be a corporate representative or corporate agent, registered agent, if they are engaged by this particular company, then they shall do so. And to answer the question whether the company can maintain it in electronic form, yes, company can maintain it in electronic form, or hard copy can be maintained. But electronic copy, if registrar requires it, then it shall be easily convertible into hard copy, or vice versa. Types of registers. Maintained by registrar, there are three registers: register of charges, electronic register of members in the case of private company, and register of directors, chief executive officers, secretaries and auditors. Registers to be maintained by company or the substantial shareholders register, debenture holders register, register of members, register of controllers, register of directors and CEOs, shareholdings. These are the broad classifications. First, Division 1, we will discuss in detail about the registers to be maintained by the registrar. To begin with, Register of Charges as required under Section 134 of the Act. Registrar shall keep a register of all the charges lodged for registration. We all know Register of Charges is maintained when a charge is created by the company and it is in favor of a person. The name of the person entitled to the charge will be as provided in the respective register. So there are two sub-classifications to it. One, in case of charge related to the benefit of a series of debentures to which they are entitled to, where you will have the amount secured by the series. What do you mean by series, friends? For example, in the general meeting, you get an approval for 500 crores and the power is delegated to the board because you cannot be meeting quite often to approve the issue of debentures. Hence, the power will be delegated to the board, which will be sub-delegated to committee of directors, who will approve the 500 crores. If it is approved by general meeting, there will be a sub-approval of 300 crores by the board, and a subcommittee will be given the delegation of authority to approve till 100 crores. And for 100 crores, if there is a series A of debentures issued, then the amount secured by the whole series, if for 100 crores, if there is going to be a margin of 1.5 times, then the amount secured 150 crores to which you have secured this particular debenture issue shall be maintained in this register. And the date of resolutions, your general meeting, board meeting, the borrowing powers and the approval for issue of debentures shall be recorded in this register. General description of the property. If you are going to charge by way of any movable property, the same shall be mentioned. If it is going to be by way of a mobile property, the details with regard to your receivables or inventories, as the case may be, shall be provided. Name of the trustee. So the trustee, to secure the interest of your debenture holders, to protect the interest of your holders, if the trustees are being appointed, the same shall be disclosed. In case of any other charge, when the charge is created, and if it is going to be towards a property, the date when the property was acquired, amount which is secured by the charge, with the description of the property and the person in whose favor the charge is created. The person entitled thereto shall be specified. After filling all the details in the register of charge, registrar shall issue a notice to the company, which will be a conclusive evidence that the registration of charge is completed. If required, like how you make an application for getting the certificate of incorporation from your registrar by paying the prescribed fee of 50 Singapore dollars. Likewise, for getting this particular registration of charge also, if you need a certificate to keep this as a record for conclusive proof, you may do so by paying this Singapore dollars 50, which will be delivered by the registrar to act as conclusive evidence against any court of law or to any body or person. The second register which we are going to discuss is Register of Directors, Chief Executive Officers, Secretaries and Auditors of the company. So for the purpose of our disclosure here, all are collectively referred to as registers. The brief particulars are almost the same with regard to directors and CEOs, except for former name, which has to be provided for director if for a period of 5 years from the date on which the name was furnished to the registrar. If it is going to be like the former name of the director is, say, 6 years before this particular name which was disclosed to the registrar, there was a former name applicable, then the same shall not be disclosed. Address together with alternate address. If you read the provisions of Singapore Companies Act, what is alternate address? It should not be your postal number, post box number. It should be any address which is over and above the residential address which you may like to disclose to the registrar, and preferably in the same jurisdiction in which place the registered office is situated. and the date of appointment and cessation of the director and CEO shall be disclosed. The case of company secretaries and auditors, the details are almost the same, except for auditor, you need not provide the residential address. It is sufficient if you provide the address at which the auditor could be contacted. Identification shall be provided if you notice in all the 4 cases. If you read the explanation to this particular section 173, what is an identification? It clearly draws reference to National Registration Act, under which they submit the relevant document as identity proof. The same shall be recorded herewith. If not, then the passport or any other identity proof, more for your KYC compliance, shall be recorded in this register. No doubt, this acts as a prima facie evidence with regard to the truth of any matter as disclosed in these registers. A certificate is given by the registrar, which shall be a prima facie evidence before any court of law or any body, statutory body or otherwise, and any body authorized by law to receive this as an evidence. Hence, it is very important that all the companies maintain it. It is not necessary that you have to update it only at the time of registration. Every time it has to be updated as and when there is a change, when you make the necessary notification to the registrar within the timeline as prescribed. A certificate of the registrar stating that at the time specified in the certificate, a person was named as director or secretary or CEO or auditor shall be received as prima facie evidence until what time? Until there is a cessation or until there is a disqualification of such director, CEO, secretary or auditor as the case. Third register which we are going to understand today is section 196A and 196B, recently introduced electronic register of members. So registrar shall in respect of every private company, because for public company you have a separate requirement, statutory requirement under section 193 to maintain the register of members. This electronic register of members is as prescribed in 196A only with regard to private company. And this came into effect on 3rd January 2016. It was introduced White Companies Amendment Act 2014. However, it was notified effective 3rd Jan. It shall contain inter alia the following particulars: name, address, and in case of a company having share capital, the shares held by each member against which the amount paid or agreed to be paid by such member shall be disclosed. Date of every allotment of shares to members, including deemed date of allotment as prescribed in section 63 subsection 3. If we read the provision of section 63 subsection 3 of the Act, it clearly says deemed date of allotment means any allotment other than the allotment made to the subscribers in the constitution document, which means at the time of incorporation, while you make the subscription money, it is an allotment. Over and above that, all the other allotments under 63 subsection 3 is regarded as deemed allotment. The date on which he became a member and the date on which he ceased to be a member, and for cessation, the limitation period is 7 years, which is reckoned for the purpose of this Act. Any change in the information with regard to point 1 to 3, with regard to the name, address, and the amount with regard to the share capital shall be recorded in the electronic register for any change notified. And in case of conversion of shares into stock, where a private company does so, it shall record the amount of stock and the number of stock units, which is replacing the number of shares owing to such conversion. And the registrar, no doubt, upon receipt of this notification of any change, shall record such particulars in the electronic register forthwith. And also, like any other register, this particular electronic register of members acts as prima facie evidence of truth of any of the matters as directed or as prescribed in the register. What happens in the case of private companies which were incorporated prior to this notification, which is prior to 3rd Jan 2016? No doubt, they should also be providing such information to the registrar, upon which the registrar will give effect to in the electronic register of members. There is a timeline prescribed to it, friends, within the earlier of the following dates. A. Within 6 months after the date of commencement of section 196A, that is 6 months after this particular notification of 3rd Jan 2016, or date on which the first return as required under section 197 is required to be lodged with the registrar. 197 deals with annual return to be filed, friends, where there is a timeline again for listed entities under Singapore Companies Act. Within 5 months at the end of the financial year, they shall submit the annual return to the registrar. In the case of any other company, it shall be done within 7 months. Likewise, for any other company, they have prescribed under 197 subsection 1A that it shall be 6 or 8 months as the case may be. If it is listed 6 or other companies, it is 8. So, registrar may extend the timeline for furnishing such information if they deem fit. And if a private company fails to lodge any of such information, then it will be difficult for the registrar to carry the prescribed information in the electronic register. Hence, the registrar may, in the place of the omitted information entered in the electronic register, he shall have prerogative power to capture such information from the register of members as maintained under section 190 of the Act. So, he can lift the information from 190 and record the same in electronic register to be maintained if the company is failing to furnish information within the timeline as prescribed. 190, no doubt, it deals with the register and index of members of private companies. Register of substantial shareholders, section 88. It is similar to your PEN filing, friends. So, who is a substantial shareholder? Section 81 of the Act defines that a person has a substantial shareholding if he has an interest in one or more voting shares and total votes attached to this share is not less than 5% of the total votes attached to all the voting shares in the company. Accordingly, a person who has substantial shareholding will be regarded as substantial shareholder. Company shall maintain a register for substantial shareholders where substantial shareholder shall notify his interest in the company as per section 82, 83 for any change in his disclosure. Say he holds 5%, owing to which he becomes a substantial shareholder. There is an acquisition due to which he gets additional holding of 1%. So he has to disclose this particular change under section 83. And if there is going to be a divestment or takeover of the company due to which he is going to sell the shareholding, then when he ceases to become a substantial shareholder, he shall disclose the same under section 84. Such register shall be kept at the register office of the company or at the principal place of business of the company in Singapore. It shall be open for inspection to all the members without any charge. If it is sought by any other person, be a debenture holder or not necessary to be having any nexus with the company, he may do so by paying a sum of $2 Singapore or such other sum as prescribed by the company. And he may also, if he wants to take a copy, he may do so by paying a sum of Singapore $1 or such lesser sum as the company requires, and the company shall submit such copy within 14 days as prescribed in the Act. What if there is a non-compliance to this particular provision? The company and every officer shall be guilty of offence and shall be liable for a fine not exceeding 5,000 Singapore dollars, and for continuing offence 500 Singapore dollars for every day during which the default continues. Registrar may also at any time require the company to furnish a copy of the register or any part of the register, and the company shall furnish the copy within 7 days after receipt of such request. Register of debenture holders under section 93. Every company which issued debentures shall keep the register of debenture holders either at the registered office or at the principal office like any other register, and he shall within 7 days after the register is first kept at a place, if it is a principal place or any other place in Singapore, he shall disclose the place where it is so maintained to the registrar, and within 7 days of any change, if the address is going to change, he shall notify the same to the registrar, and it shall be again open for inspection to the register holder or to any other person, and the particulars of the name and address of the debenture holders and the amount held by them shall be disclosed in this particular register. Like your closure of register of members, you have the provision for closure of register of debenture holders also. So anytime when the register is closed, it is not open for inspection, which shall not exceed a period in aggregate of 30 days. Otherwise, the debenture holders are entitled to inspect these documents. So register shall be deemed to be closed in accordance with the provisions as contained in the articles of the company or in the debenture certificates or debenture trust deed or any other document which is creating a charge on the debenture. Again, upon request, the company shall be obligated to adhere to the request of the debenture holder to submit a copy of the register of debenture holders and also a copy by making a prescribed payment of Singapore dollar for every page or such lesser sum as the company may desire so. And if inspection is refused or a copy is not provided within a reasonable time, again the company and every officer shall be guilty of an offence. And where a company issues debentures, it may cause to be kept in any place outside Singapore, a branch register of debenture holders. It shall also be treated alike the register of debenture holders, and for non-compliance of this particular section, the company and every officer shall be liable to a fine not exceeding 1,000 Singapore dollars and to a default penalty. Register of members, we discussed earlier about the register of members of a private company to be maintained in electronic form by registrar. This under 190 to 192 will be applicable for public companies where it shall be maintained by the company. Again, similar to your electronic register, you shall maintain in the register of members the details of the name and address of the member, the name when he became the member and the date when he entered as a member and the date when he ceased to be a member, and the number of shares held by him against which you will have the amount paid or agreed to be paid for each share. And in case of public company having a share capital, the date of allotment of shares and the number of shares allotted to each member against the date of allotment shall be disclosed. And in the case of conversion of shares into stock, the company shall provide the notice of such conversion to the registrar, and the company shall accordingly alter the register to show the stock in the place of the number of shares and the particulars thereat. And the public company may keep the name and particulars relating to persons who have ceased to be members of the company separately, and the name and particulars relating to former members need not be supplied to any person unless there is a specific request made thereto. And this register again acts as a prima facie evidence with regard to the truth of any matter as contained therein. And index of members shall be maintained where the number of members exceed 50, and it shall contain a sufficient indication to enable the account of the member. So it shall be maintained in such a way that it is easily traceable and identifiable with regard to any member. But there is no such prescribed norm as to how it has to be maintained, more for the operational convenience of each company. And with regard to non-compliance, again there is a penalty of a fine not exceeding 1,000 Singapore dollars. And it shall be kept at the registered office of the company, and if the work is done at any other office, the same shall be maintained at that particular office, or if it is done by an authorized agent, then it can be kept in some other office, but again the same shall be notified to the registrar. And every public company within 14 days after the register and index, if they are kept in a place other than the registered office, notify to the registrar, which shall also include any change in this particular address. And for non-compliance, again there is a penalty of 1,000 Singapore dollars. Like your closure of register of debenture holders, which we discussed now, closure of register of members. It may be done by the public company, but in aggregate it shall not exceed a period of 30 days in a calendar year. And again it is open for inspection to any member without charge and also to any other person, and a copy shall be made available on request and along with the payment as provided. And company shall cause any such copy to be sent to that person within the prescribed time of 21 days, or if the registrar considers it to be appropriate that there could be an extension granted, the same shall be provided within the timeline as provided by the registrar. Register of Directors and CEOs shareholdings, section 164. Director shareholding and CEO shareholding, the particulars are almost the same, but for related corporation, here shares in the company or related corporation shall be disclosed, whereas for CEO, it is sufficient if you provide the shares held in that particular company where he is acting as CEO. Likewise, debentures or participatory interest made available by the company or related corporations, rights or options. If he has entitlement to ESOPs, then the same shall be disclosed. And if he is interested in any contract or any arrangement, the same shall be disclosed. The similar particulars for CEO except for extension to related corporation. The case of director. This is important, friends. Where the company has a wholly owned subsidiary, then it clearly exempts this particular wholly owned subsidiary. A company that is a wholly owned subsidiary of another company shall be deemed to have complied with section 164 in relation to a director. So if you have a wholly owned subsidiary, automatically the wholly owned subsidiary will capture all the details as required in the register of directors, including the shareholding, and hence the related corporation definition does not include wholly owned subsidiary, provided such particulars are well captured in the wholly owned subsidiaries register. A company is a wholly owned subsidiary of another company. When is it considered as a wholly owned subsidiary? The explanation is provided, which let us try to understand with an illustration. So a company, say for example, Mahindra AMC Private Limited is a wholly owned subsidiary of Mahindra and Mahindra Financial Services. It is no doubt a wholly owned subsidiary if none of the members of the first mentioned company, so if none of the members of the first mentioned company, Mahindra AMC Private Limited, they hold no other person as member other than the second mentioned company. So MMFSL is the only member as disclosed in AMC Private Limited, or nominee of this particular MMFSL. MMFSL is Mahindra and Mahindra Financial Services, is the only nominee as recorded in the wholly owned subsidiary of M&M AMC Private Limited. Or third one is your step down subsidiary. So in the instant case, Mahindra and Mahindra Financial Services also has another subsidiary, which is, for example, Mahindra and Mahindra Business and Consulting Services Private Limited, which is again a wholly owned subsidiary. If their nominees or subsidiary of this particular MMFSL, which is Mahindra and Mahindra Business Consultancy Services, no other member is holding shares, then that particular person is construed as a wholly owned subsidiary, which is by way of an explanation to exempt the wholly owned subsidiary from this particular disclosure of related corporation for the purpose of shareholding as required under section 164. Again, the company shall keep this particular register open for inspection. Like your Indian corporate law, this particular register of director shareholding shall be open for inspection to the members at the general meeting, annual general meeting, and the copy, if made available for request, the same shall be provided. And again, like your register of members, this copy shall be provided within 21 days or such other longer period as the registrar may provide. Register of Controllers 386 AF. A company incorporated on or after appointed date. This section was introduced White Companies Amendment Act 2017, friends, and hence its effective date is 31st March 2017, which is the appointed date for this particular purpose. So, a company which is incorporated on or after 31st March shall keep this particular register, and the timeline is not later than 30 days after the company's formation. Controller could be an individual or corporate. Who is a controller? A person who is an individual or corporate establishing significant control or significant interest over the company or foreign company. If you want to know the definition of significant interest or control, it is as prescribed in 16th schedule of Singapore Companies Act, where significant control is holding right to appoint or remove the directors or equivalent persons of the company or foreign company holding majority of voting rights and holding directly or indirectly 25% of the right to vote on matters that are to be decided, be it an affirmative vote, that are to be decided by this particular vote of these members, or they have the right to exercise significant influence or control over the company or foreign company. So what do you mean by significant influence, friends? Participating in the financial or operating decisions need not necessarily be ultimate control over the policy decisions. Even if you participate in the financial and operating decisions of the company, it is considered as significant influence as far as international financial reporting standards are concerned. Significant interest is again defined in 16th schedule as individual or legal entity having significant interest in a company or foreign company if the individual or entity has an interest of more than 25% of shares in such company, or has an interest in one or more voting shares in the company, and the total votes are more than 25% of the total voting power. So the number prescribed here is 25%, which is a thumb rule for reckoning the significant interest or significant control. Let's try to understand this with an illustration. Who is registrable controller then, which is required to be entered in the register of controllers effective 31st March 2017. If controllers significant interest in or significant control over a company is only through one or more controllers, B, through one or more controllers, which is B of C. If it is yes, then it is not a registrable controller. If not, if A is a controller of B, if A is a controller, then directly yes means it is not a registrable controller, because directly they are coming within the ambit of controller. But if not, if B is either they are falling within the prescribed criterions as mentioned in this particular section, a company that is required to keep a register of controllers. Already they are required to keep a register of controllers. If yes, then they are already disclosing the particulars as registrable controller, and hence A will not be a registrable controller. If not, then they will be considered as registrable controller. Likewise, a company that is set out in 14th schedule, where 14th schedule of this act clearly exempts part 11A, which talks about this particular section, register of controllers, which means this company is out of this particular ambit. Likewise, foreign company as set out in 15th schedule clearly says that part 11A is not applicable. A corporation whose shares are listed because they are well available in the public domain. LLP that is required to keep a register. Again, when they are already required to keep register, if yes, then they will not be a registrable controller. If not, then they will be a registrable controller. If LLP is set out in 6th schedule, if you read 6th schedule to the LLP Act, it clearly draws provisions to register of controller. So they are already governed, so no duplicate regulation available or applicable. A trustee of an express trust, to which part 7 of the Trustee Act applies. Part 7 of the Trustee Act clearly talks about transparency and effective control. So if there is going to be a specific provision, then the general provision or another provision will not be applicable, and that is the thumb rule. And a company incorporated before this date, are they required to comply with this norm of maintaining the register of controllers? Yes. Instead of 30 days from formation, here it is 60 days after the appointing date. And a company must keep the register not later than 60 days after the day on which this particular part applies. And a foreign company likewise within 30 days from formation like a company, and within 60 days from the date of the act getting applied. If they were already incorporated, within 60 days after the date on which this particular part 11A applies, they shall maintain this particular register. These are the various particulars which we have already discussed in various other registers, like the full name, address, identity, nationality, date of birth, and date on which he became the registrable controller, either as an individual or as a legal entity, or the date when he ceased to be either an individual registrable controller or a corporate registrable controller. The same shall be disclosed. Like any other register, it shall be maintained at the register office of the company, or if there is a RFA, registered filing agent, at his registered office or of the company or foreign company where this particular register shall be maintained. Register of nominee directors, similar provision as applicable under 386 AF for register of controllers. Under 386 AL, register of nominee directors, similar particulars are required to be maintained. And again, the same regulation is applicable, the same date when this also was notified, because the regulation is cumulative of register of controllers and nominee directors regulation 2017, which was made applicable effective 31st March 2017. Who are nominee directors, friends? So the nominee director is the person who is nominated by a company. So the register of directors of nominees and the particulars of the companies which nominate such directors shall also be indicated here. Again, where it has to be maintained is at the registered office, or if there is a registered filing agent, he shall maintain this particular register, and the particulars shall be disclosed forthwith to the registrar. We have covered all the statutory registers as provided in Singapore Companies Act. There is yet another register, which is your register of foreign companies, register of members of foreign company as provided in section 379, which again was notified on the same day as 386 AF and AL were notified, which is as provided in section 379 of the Act, which clearly says that on this appointed date, within 30 days after formation of a foreign company, the register shall maintain this particular particulars of the members as in the register of members maintained by the public company or private company. And on the appointed date, if already there is a foreign company, as per division 2 of part 11, which talks about the foreign companies establishing their place of business in Singapore, in which case within 60 days from the appointing day, they shall comply with this particular statutory requirement of maintenance of register of members by foreign companies. Any questions, friends? I'll be happy to take, otherwise we will conclude this particular session.